Sejam bem-vindos de volta. Nós daremos agora início à nossa sessão de encerramento e começaremos com a discussão em estilo fishbowl. Eu gostaria, então, de chamar aqui ao palco para estar conosco o nosso moderador, o Dr. Tiago Alves Pinto, que é diretor de Estudos de Teologia e Religião e professor de Direitos Humanos no Departamento de Educação Continuada da Universidade de Oxford. Dr. Tiago is the Director of Studies in Religion and Theology and Departmental Lecturer in the International Human Rights Law at Department for Continuing Education at the University of Oxford. So he will conduct this discussion and invite some guests to be here upon the stage with us. So we'll need 2 more chairs, right, Dr. Tiago? And I ask if the staff can provide us 2 more chairs up here. Então, o Dr. Tiago vai nos guiar agora por essa discussão em estilo fishbowl, que vai incluir 4 convidados que estarão aqui conosco com a participação de vocês. Né? Essa é a ideia, que a gente possa integrar, né, as discussões e pensamentos finais aqui, juntamente com o que vem do auditório. Então, estamos providenciando aqui mais 2 cadeiras, porque nós teremos o Dr. Tiago e mais 4 convidados. 5 convidados. São 5 convidados? Então, vamos ter mais 3 cadeiras. So, we'll have 5 guests. And then Dr. Tiago will conduct this discussion, and as soon as the minister starts, we'll have a pause. Dr. Tiago, is that okay? And I will introduce the minister, and he'll come in and speak to us. Então, é possível que, ao longo dessa discussão, nos próximos minutos, o ministro chegue. E aí nós interromperemos por um breve período essa discussão e eu vou anunciar o ministro e ele nos dirigirá a palavra. Dr. Tiago, é contigo. It's with you.
Obrigado, Romana. Eu vou começar em português e daí falar em inglês para convidar as pessoas. Eu queria convidar alguns participantes, primeiramente, para compartilhar quais foram as impressões deles, o que eles estão levando para casa, o que eles vão querer implementar na sua comunidade. E tem um grupo muito interessante aqui. E eu já vou chamá-los depois de fazer a introdução em inglês. So I would like to invite some participants who have contributed during the forum already, but I would like to hear more about them. What are the issues that they thought were pertinent, most interesting during this event, and what are they bringing home to their communities to implement in their communities? So the participants are Catherine Marshall. I can't really see her, but I saw her earlier. Father Charles Chilufya. Elcimar Dias Pereira. Thanks, Catherine. A Elcimar já está aqui, senão quando ela chegar ela pode subir ao palco também. Kushwant Singh. Kushwant is also probably having his lunch still. Benny Dugo, please. Oh, Father, great. Yeah, this is it. Well, if I see the other ones, I can ask them as well, or I can ask them later. So this fishbowl format works better with smaller groups. I would say that this is more an aquarium because everyone can participate, like taking turns. And we're just going to start right now to introduce some people answering those questions that I posed before. Então esse formato, como eu mencionei, é um formato que funciona melhor para grupos pequenos, não é algo que a gente está muito acostumado no Brasil. Eu, sinceramente, até não conhecia o termo, mas não vai ser um aquário pequeno, vai ser um aquário grande aí para que todo mundo participe. E a ideia é bem de igualdade, a gente vai abrir depois para vocês participarem. So let's start with Catherine. You have 3 minutes to share your impressions of the event so far and the conclusions you have already.
Well, I think in this occasion, I will not try with the overview, but with a couple of the challenges that I face personally. It has been an extraordinary experience to learn about the Brazilian perspectives on the G20, but also the sort of lived experience of Brazil with the advantages and disadvantages. So the question is how to bring this Brazilian experience of so much, the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative, the Pastoral de Criança, the education experience, the tensions around Afro-Brazilian descent, the indigenous communities. How do we integrate and learn from this very important country experience? So that's one. And a second, just to mention two, is that there is a very long journey between a head of state, whether it's President Lula, President Biden, the other presidents who are the G20, the leaders who meet, and the reality in a community. So you have this journey from the very global, where people are playing with trillions of dollars and with tiny actions that affect the lives of people all over the world. And then that journey goes through the national legislature and assembly, through the civil society, all the way down to local governments, to regional governments, to communities, and then obviously to families and individuals. And in many ways, we have touched on each one of these, but there are many disconnects. Many people at the local community level have no idea what the G20 does and why it has any importance. And likewise, we fear very much that the leaders in the G20, because of the bubble in which they live, can very often lose track of the people who are left behind. And how do you give meaning to the preferential option for the poor? And I think we're very convinced that religious communities can play a very big role in that long journey. But it's a complex role that religious leaders play, religious actors, and it's one that I think is part of our challenge individually and collectively.
Thank you so much, Catherine. I really believe that we have forgotten a lot of times this dimension from the more granular ground level all the way to the leaders and how the decisions influence like literally everyone in this process. So I'll move now to Father Charles Chalufya. That's right. Your turn.
We have heard so much, we've experienced so much in the last 3 days of engagement. And usually when you come to meetings like this, people always ask the question, so what? What have you changed? And I always say a lot has changed, and even here, a lot has changed. And I come from the perspective of the wisdom that comes from the philosopher Gadamer, who taught about the fusion of horizons, that all of us who came here are going back different. And we came here to interpret the world and to see how we can interpret it in a way that promotes brotherhood, promotes well-being. And listening to various traditions, religious traditions, intellectual traditions, different cultures from Asia, US, Africa, I really feel and experience that I have had my horizons enlarged or extended. And I will no longer interpret the world the same way I have done it. And where I'm going to go, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to share this extended horizon. And I think wherever we will go, each one of us, we will make that difference. And that, for me, is a big change that a convening like this one produces. And also, another important thing that struck me is the Jesuit theologian who taught us, who taught about how knowledge comes, and one of the things he paid attention to was to be attentive to experience. And usually when we speak about experience, we think about things that we hear. But experience is also about things that we feel, things that we encounter and that change us in the way we engage the world. And I felt that attentiveness as we listened to the various perspectives, and all of us paying attention to what should concern humanity, what we should be thinking about. And in that regard, this for me has been quite enriching. And finally, I heard yesterday what is very, very important, what came out of one plenary, which was moral, what is moral?
Mango?
No.
Moral clarity to moral courage.
Moral courage, moral clarity to moral courage. That for me was very, very powerful, and that's what a group like us bring, realizing that we are in a world where there are enough resources, material, human, and several resources that we need to effect change but don't happen. But we need that moral courage to ensure that things happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Father. I would just like to say about this power of convening. It's really amazing that we can be here in person after like a pandemic that we survived, and we were all far from each other. And I really would like to thank again the Brazilian government, for supporting us, and especially for the work that Cole, Catherine, Rodrigo, and everyone involved. They spent so much time bringing everyone together, and in this kind of just spending time here in the coffee breaks is really what connects us and shows us different perspectives. So thank you for your intervention. I would like to go to Bunny now. So your next, Bunny.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tiago. And Father, for reminding us about, it was Ibrahim Rasool who spoke about moving from moral clarity to having the moral courage when we go home. I moderated that session, and it was a particularly rich session, and his contributions. I've been coming to the IF20 meetings for many years, and each one is better than the ones before. And I think it's the cumulative learning that we are all having about the process, but also about the particular issues. And we come back and we share and learn about them more since the last year when we were together. And but each time with that local flavor that Catherine referenced. So this year we had the advantage of being here in Brazil, and so many wonderful Brazilian actors who contributed to our discussions and the learning that we've had. There was another takeaway I have is about collaborative efforts having greater impact. And I think we've had additional partners with BARD and others that have also joined. And so that also gives that greater impact. So that's been a wonderful experience. During some of the sessions that I was at, and the one that I moderated when we talked about moral clarity to moral courage, there was one of the recommendations was that there are good policies. Most countries have good policies, but the good policies aren't being implemented. And there needs to be some way for those of us that are engaging to go back home and actually call on our government and hold them accountable for these policies which are there. They've made international agreements at the UN and other places, but somehow there's a disconnect between them adopting policies and actually implementing them. There was a discussion, very rich discussion about structures and how to make structural changes, which are very important, because you may have the policies, but if the structures don't allow for those policies to be implemented properly, then we are running into problems. This morning, I heard about the importance of building bridges, particularly between development and the development side of government and the political side of government, and how we need to build those. I also heard something that really struck me is the importance of learning from local expertise and to approach local players with humility, and also the importance of working with faith actors. And also bridging the connection between freedom of religion and belief and development, about talking more about religious education, which I believe there was a session on, but also addressing issues of mental health at the local levels. And finally, I was speaking with someone as I was coming here, and I shared what I was going to do, and I was asked to share that it's important and very important to have, if we are talking about children and youth, we need to involve children and youth and hear from them directly. And lastly, we can bring the message to the G20, but also take the inspiration and the empowerment from this meeting and take key messages back to our circles of influence and share them there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bunny. I think, as you mentioned, the structural problems, they require structural solutions, and intersectional issues also require intersectional complex answers for us to address everything, all the connections that we mentioned here, environment, human rights, development, and so on. But I really like your inputs on the implementation. Implementation starts with us, I think. Like everyone has to do their own, but if any one of us can bring it home something and start implementing with their communities, with the groups that they can influence, I think it's a very good start. So now, Khushwant.
Yeah, thank you, and sorry for being late. First of all, I want to say thank you, because it was quite an experiment. When you collaborate and when you work together, there are always challenges, but as you can see, we were, I think, able to create a very inclusive forum, and you have been referring to the former annual forums, Barney. And from my perspective, I can really say we have really tried our best to be inclusive in the sense that I see a lot of indigenous representatives here. I also see young people here. I really like if we are able to move from what we should do to what we have been doing. So we were talking about we should be more inclusive. I think we did that step. Of course, we can always improve. So a big thank you to all the organizers and all the supporters who enabled us to be inclusive. My second point is in terms of what we want to achieve at the level of G20, in simple terms, in the world of politics. I have rarely seen such a high engagement of governments in these kind of forums where we talk about religion. I think some people said it very bluntly sometimes, and I think, Father, you also referred to it, like, why should we come to a conference on religion? And Catherine was there too, and Cole. We had meetings also at the President's Palace, and we met the Vice President. And it wasn't just a courtesy visit, but he really spoke about the matter, and he showed us that he's really supportive in listening to the recommendations which will come up out of this conference, but also the recommendations which will come up out of future conferences, and also the bridge to the COP30, which will be happening in this country. I think it was very important to be here because, as we discussed in various panels, the Amazon is not only the lung of Brasilia, but it is the lung of Mother Earth. Another point I really want to make, and I'm looking at the colleague who's giving me one more minute, it is evidence. It is very important that in our speaking we are able to move from shoulds and general statements that religion is important to showcase impact. So I invite every one of you, you can send us, the PART Secretariat, all the good work you're doing, and we will put it on our website. You don't need to pay for it. You don't need to even become a member. We are happy if you become a member. But if you can show impact, this is what you have been doing, this is the concrete impact with regards to sustainable development, send it to us and we will highlight it. And actually we had discussed a project which we are still, it's not finalized, but a publication where all the network of networks come together and showcase good results, nice stories. Stories are very important, which touch the heart, where we can understand in the context of health, peace, environmental protection, this is the good work of religious actors. That was my last point. I wanted to make 5 points. I made 5 points. And I thank you all again and wish you good discussions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kushwant. I believe, I also recommend people to access the website. I think having these models, examples from real projects, real initiatives is really what motivates us to create our own, adapt to our own context, and push forward this agenda. I'd like to invite Elcimar Dias Pereira now to share her thoughts. Então, Elcimar, gostaria de convidar você. E eu participei da sessão sobre mulheres e desenvolvimento, acho que era o nome, em português, e fiquei impressionado com o trabalho da Elcimar e de todo mundo que apresentou, mas eu gostaria de ouvir um pouco mais dela, do que ela aprendeu e está levando de volta para a sua organização.
Boa tarde. Em primeiro lugar, eu quero dizer que eu fico muito feliz em falar em português num evento internacional. E, eu quero falar 3 pontos. Assim, um ponto é agradecer a todos, todas e todos organizadores e organizadoras, né, e financiadores desse evento, que foi um evento muito importante. Assim, é um evento que, pelo que eu tenho compreendido, é um evento que ainda está em construção, né, pelos outros que tiveram anteriormente, pelo que eu li, pelo que eu vi, esse evento também muito se avançou, né? Então, quero parabenizar no primeiro momento. O segundo ponto é dizer como que eu me sinto, né, individualmente. A sensação de chegar e abrir um portal em que eu pude encontrar e ouvir e trocar e falar com várias pessoas, né, de várias religiões e várias práticas espirituais diferentes. Isso foi uma possibilidade, né, de adentrar um outro caminho dentro do coração, né, de possibilidade de construir conexões, mais conexões. E pensar que, para além do dogma, nós temos um desafio, que é para como que é que, junto com outras expressões religiosas, nós possamos pensar em direitos humanos, pensar na garantia desse nosso planeta, considerando a água, considerando a terra, que elas não estão à parte de nós. Para algumas expressões religiosas, a terra, a água, a floresta também faz parte de nós, não está separado. O terceiro ponto, que eu não poderia deixar de falar, que eu sou uma ativista da sociedade civil, faço parte do GELE10, que é a Organização de Mulheres Negras, e sendo uma ativista, nós sabemos que nós precisamos pautar, há sempre o que melhorar e há sempre o que avançar. Não existe liberdade religiosa, como a gente muito ouviu aqui, mas se nós não pensarmos na equidade de raça, equidade de gênero, e diante disso, até já vai uma sugestão, né? Quase que uma reivindicação, para que, considerando que esse evento está em construção, que nos próximos painéis, nos próximos eventos, a gente possa pensar mais em como garantir uma maior inclusão. Que existem várias formas, né? Não apenas a gente ter uma ou outra mesa de um tema específico. É como que grupos que são historicamente discriminados e excluídos estão presentes de uma maneira mais efetiva, né? Nas mesas principais, por exemplo. Um outro ponto, então, essa é uma das minhas reivindicações enquanto organização da sociedade civil. Um outro ponto também fundamental, e é o último, porque já estou vendo o stop ali na minha frente, é que nós temos um país que é muito diverso. Quando nós falamos, por exemplo, de religião de matriz africana, não é um bloco fechado, existe uma diversidade de religiões de matriz africana, como de espiritualidade indígena, e que tem muito a nos ensinar. Né? E que tem muito a nos ensinar. E, infelizmente, hoje em dia, no Brasil, quando se fala de intolerância religiosa, terreiros estão sendo destruídos, mães estão sendo assassinadas e ameaçadas, assim como territórios indígenas estão sendo destruídos. Como que é que nós, aqui num evento, né, interreligioso, criamos estratégias para poder nos posicionarmos diante disso? Né? E aí eu lembro que teve um dos painéis que o professor Ivanir até deu uma sugestão, né, falando da importância que nós temos a Lei 10.639 no país, que ela não avança por causa da intolerância religiosa, que é para garantir o ensino, né, da história africana e dos afrodescendentes no país. E como que a gente pensa que esse tipo de ação também pode ser replicada também em outros lugares. Desculpa, eu passei um pouco do tempo, mas é um prazer estar aqui. Sou grata pelo convite também.
Não precisa se desculpar, eu acho que tudo que você falou é muito relevante e eu acho que não só em eventos como esse, né, também em eventos onde existe um poder de decisão para envolver mais, né, porque quando eu venho para o Brasil eu consigo ver uma diversidade, ver a inclusão de pessoas de religiões de matriz africana e tudo mais, mas quando eu vou na ONU, por exemplo, já tem muito menos, né, quando você vai para um evento em outros países já fica mais difícil, então é importante a gente não ficar só aqui no Brasil, mas também mostrar, né? E até num evento passado aí que o governo britânico me chamou para falar, eu falei justamente sobre o aumento dos casos de perseguição religiosa no Brasil, de 17.000%, né, que saiu as pesquisas nos últimos 10 anos, e que era um país relativamente calmo nessa área, né, e que as coisas são dinâmicas, né, tem países que agora estão bem, mas que outra hora podem estar pior, tem países que agora não estão tão bem, que podem estar melhor depois, então é um negócio para todo mundo aprender, para que esses erros não ocorram novamente, né. Então, eu gostaria, agora a gente ainda está esperando o ministro, eu gostaria de abrir para outras contribuições, principalmente de pessoas de outros países que não estão sendo representados aqui, de outras fés, crenças ou agnósticos, ateístas, que queiram comentar também e participar, quais as suas primeiras impressões aí do evento e que vocês vão estar levando para suas comunidades. I'll say that in English. So open up now while we're still waiting for the minister to come, for other people from other faiths or no faiths, primarily from countries that are not represented here or faiths that are not represented here right now, to share their insights from this event.
Thank you, Thiago. Obrigada, Thiago. And they will be getting the microphones so that they can make their contributions and questions. By the way, we use the term fishbowl discussion, so some people know what that is. For those that do not, I didn't. So it's an open discussion that allows people to share final impressions, ideas, topics that maybe have not even been addressed yet. So this is the opportunity. Então, enquanto eles levam os microfones, se alguém está se perguntando o que é uma discussão no estilo fishbowl, muitos talvez saibam, né? Mas eu confesso que para mim foi um termo novo. Então, é uma discussão aberta não apenas sobre os aprendizados, mas também oportuniza, né, que além das impressões finais, vocês possam trazer algum tópico importante ou sugestão que porventura não foi ainda endereçada. E até sugestões, né, como nós ouvimos dos participantes que estão aqui em cima, tá bom? Obrigada.
Boa tarde, sou o Baba Walter de Xanguaganju, do Brasil, né? Eu queria falar duas coisas, né? Uma é sobre esse pseudo-paz anterior, né? Não tem pseudo-paz, né? Na verdade, que não tem estatística. Então, a partir do Disque 100 é que se aumentou essa estatística, né? Então, a gente não tem a realidade de casos no Brasil, mas são inúmeros, e no país inteiro, e de todas as formas, né? E a gente não fala mais intolerância, a gente fala racismo religioso, porque é assim que a gente vê isso. É tipificado, né? Hoje, pelo Supremo, o crime de racismo e o crime de intolerância religiosa, né? Então, nós temos que ter esse olhar. Depois, nós temos a invisibilidade, né? Sempre nos querem para as fotos, sempre para as fotos, né? Então nos chamam no Planalto, nos chamam em todos os lugares, né, do governo, para vocês virem tirarem a foto. Mas quando a gente fala e quer que nós queremos que vocês nos escutem, ninguém escuta, né? Então, porque você foi inclusive uma promessa do governo Lula, né, que tivesse o povo de matriz africana em todos os ministérios. Tem as secretarias, mas quem fala de nós, só nós, né? Então, quais secretarias que têm nossos representantes? São muito poucas, infelizmente, né? Então, esse racismo, essa luta que a gente faz constante, assim como os povos indígenas a favor da natureza, ele só vai dar visibilidade se o governo der visibilidade para a gente e nos escutar. Então, não adianta. E só aproveitando agora, né, falar dos 100 mil jovens pela água, né? Então, uma campanha que é pela URI, pela REDA, né, que nós todos fazemos parte para tentar salvar esse bem maior que é a água. Então, a gente pede que todos que estejam presentes, de cada seu país, que possa levar essa proposta e fazer parte junto com a gente. Axé, muito obrigado.
Muito obrigado mesmo. Tem mais uma pessoa lá atrás, no lado, meu lado direito, lado esquerdo do auditório.
Boa tarde a todos. Sou Uruma, indígena Cambeba, do Amazonas. Eu quero destacar aqui, mais uma vez, para quem não esteve no meu painel ontem, também duas coisas. Uma questão do financiamento, para que realmente possa nos ajudar a preservar, a colaborar com a natureza, com a Amazônia. Outro ponto também que eu não quero deixar aqui passar é a questão que foi citada aqui, das águas. Então, os barcos, eles estão utilizando o rio como fossa. Então, essas tecnologias aí enxergam, né, os índices de uso, né, usando os barcos como o rio como fossa. Então, as águas, elas estão realmente sendo poluídas. Então, uma forma de como fazer, né, na parte da educação ambiental. Então, isso mexe muito realmente com as pessoas que utilizam a água do rio ainda para consumo na região. Então, uma parte é financiamento, outra parte é enxergar onde ser aplicado imediatamente, urgente. Muito obrigado.
Muito obrigado. Anyone from another country now? Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Sheikh Ibrahim Lethome from Kenya. First of all, let me thank God Almighty for this meeting, because I don't like taking it for granted. It is through the blessings of God and then the human efforts that we have been able to meet here. Let me tell the story of the hummingbird. It is said that once upon a time, the forest was on fire. It's not the Amazon, so the Brazilians don't worry. It was just another forest that was on fire. And all the animals decided to run away, except the hummingbird. The hummingbird is one of the smallest animals in the forest. What the hummingbird did was to go into the river and with its tiny beak, collect some water to put off the fire. The other animals were laughing at this tiny bird. What would you do with a drop of water? Now, I want you to imagine if all the other animals, the hippo with its big mouth, the elephant with its big trunk, and all the other animals, if each one of them could fetch water that they could carry with their mouths, they would be able to put off the fire. So what is the moral lesson that we get from that? We have discussed a lot of nice things here. Since I came here, I've been hearing wonderful ideas here. The question that we need to ask ourselves, because I believe as a Muslim, I will be answerable before Allah, before God, for the resources that have been spent here, because somebody somewhere gave out some resources for this to be done. Even time is a resource, and we shall be answerable before God. What am I trying to say? Is it an end in itself or a means to an end? The answer is that we should not take this meeting, this wonderful gathering, the networks that we have made and the many friends that we have made. I personally have made so many friends here. Is it an end in itself? The answer is no. It is a means to an end. What can each one of us do in their small way? Be the hummingbird in your country, whichever space you're going back to. All those wonderful ideas here, if each one of us could pick that drop of water, like the hummingbird, I believe we could make some change. So that when next time we meet, let us report about the effect of that drop of water. So we have what is called low-hanging fruits. I, for example, I am a Muslim religious scholar. I don't need any resources or any structures for me to be able to talk about all the good things that we have discussed here. I already have a platform that is ready for me. Every Friday in the largest mosque in Kenya, I have about 10,000 people listening to me. At least the minimum, the least expected of you, can you share these good ideas that have been discussed here down there? And you don't need anybody to supervise you because God Almighty is watching you. So can each one of us promise that you're going to be the hummingbird and do the little you can? That way, we shall bring change to this world. Otherwise, it will only be rhetoric and nothing else. Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you very much. Those are very... Sorry. Oh.
I want to answer to...
Oh, yeah. No, go for it. Take my...
He needs a mic.
Sorry, I would like to say something. Thank you, Imam. I want to tell you one thing, listening to you. You reach 10,000 people, right? So you have a lot of influence. And I'm very grateful that you are here. Because as you said, you're not only making new friends, but you're also taking home new ideas. And also you're coming out of your bubble, so to speak. So we always learn when we leave the comfort zone, and this is what you're doing. So thank you for this, and also to all the others who have come out of their comfort zone. And I want to share a quick story from 2 days back. A young 13-year-old told me, who is listening to preachers like you, Imam. He said, I read an article which I had written about the importance of spirituality and its connection to sustainable development issues. Simple things like the pollution outside is simply the manifestation of the pollution inside. Things like that I had explained. So he said, I was going to the temple every week, to the Gurdwara, every week, since I'm, 3-4 years old. But I was afraid of God. And that was my main concern in the context of religion. If I don't do this, this will happen. If I don't do this, I will go to hell, and so on. So the whole world of religion consisted of being afraid. And when he read this article, he said to me, it's the first time that I'm not afraid of God anymore, but I now know what I actually need to do in my daily life. So I would encourage everyone who has this powerful position like you to really make this inspirational connection for young people, how they can contribute and how they can live their potential to the betterment of their own as a human being, but also as for the betterment of the whole of Mother Earth. Thank you.
We have someone in the back there. Okay, first here. Yeah.
Boa tarde, meu nome é Isabel e eu faço parte da URI, né, a Iniciativa das Religiões Unidas, e também da UCIP-BR, aqui com a Salete e o Roberto. E é um prazer estar aqui, eu vi tantas coisas importantes, né? Mas o que eu tenho sentido durante todo o processo das conversas é que a gente tem muitas palavras em português, né, como em todas as línguas, né, e muitos conceitos. E aí cada vez a gente ouve mais conceitos e mais conceitos. E é como se as palavras ou os conceitos fossem se subdividindo, taraná. Então agora vocês falaram sobre assim clareza moral, clareza, né, coragem, taraná. Acaba que tudo vai para o mesmo lugar, consciência de si mesmo. né? Então, é a gente ter cada dia mais consciência, porque se eu tenho consciência de mim, eu comigo mesmo, eu com o outro e eu com o planeta, tudo vai ficar melhor, né? Então, acho que tudo que a gente está discutindo, cada dia mais, se reflete no momento de silêncio dentro da gente, para que a gente possa se ouvir melhor, para passar isso adiante. Agora, como é que a gente coloca isso em prática no nosso dia a dia? Então, nós temos feito um trabalho de beija-flor, né? Nosso presidente, que é Roberto Beija-Flor. Então, que é isso aí, né? De apagar o incêndio com uma gotinha, né? Então, a minha pergunta é assim, essa conversa, esse diálogo com os governos, né, no caso, eu tenho lido muitos editais e muitas coisas tentando ver como é que a gente faz essas parcerias, né? E tenho visto que os editais têm muitos detalhes que muitas vezes nós não conseguimos alcançar. E não porque nós não temos capacidade, mas porque são exigências de documentos que às vezes saem um pouco do que é possível. Então, se o governo pretende abrir um pouco mais essa discussão, né, assim, um pouco mais para as OCIPs, para as ONGs, que nós temos mais de 7 mil, né, OCIPs aqui em ação, né? Então, nós temos brasileiros e gente do mundo inteiro que pode agir. Então, é uma pergunta que fica aí, né? Obrigada.
Muito obrigado. So after that,
hello,
in the back.
Thank you. My name is Yuri Schmidt. I'm the Vice President of Waste-to-Energy Research and Technology Council. We represent the technology to reduce methane emissions from the waste sector. We are working to European Union Climate Dialogues, UCD, to reduce methane emissions from agriculture and waste sector through biogas and biomethane. And as an association here in Brasilia, the capital, I represent ABREN, is a waste-to-energy association, to treat the urban waste, to produce clean energy and to reduce methane emissions. 90% of methane emissions come from the waste in Brazil. It's 1/3 of greenhouse gases. And you are seeing a huge problem in our country, in the south of Brazil, about the flood. Now, the problem in Amazon, the dry weather, and I think that all of us are in a good moment to discuss about climate change. And the faith people like us that believe in God have to think that we are honest people and you believe in the truth. I have to share what is the science are saying about climate change and to address this to the politicians. Because in my country, I can say to you guys that have a strong lobby in the industry. And for example, if you are talking to energy transition, it's equal solar and wind farms. Okay, but biogas and biomethane can reduce 11 to 15% more than solar and wind farms. It's 10 to 15 times more reducing greenhouse gases. And our agenda is not the top priority agenda in the energy transition. It's the least. And it's very bad to our country, not only here, but United States, the same problem. But in Europe, European Union are addressing very good that, are supporting us to share to our federal government, to the congressmen. Now we are moving forward to approve a federal bill, the combustion of the future, to have sustainable fuels by, in 2 weeks, maybe Senator will approve this program. But it's a little bit if you compare to European Union. 5 times less the goal. And I think that we can move forward together with EF20 to move forward this climate agenda to address correctly what we have to speak about that, the truth. Thank you.
On the back there, João.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for the opportunity also. My name is Neil Bacchus, and I am from Guyana, which is a continental neighbor to Brazil and Venezuela. And we are more inclined to be part of the Caribbean. I first must give thanks to the KAICIID program because it's through KAICIID I'm here, and it is a really good experience for me to be here as part perhaps of a first international activity like this. I think, I'm not too sure, but I think being the only person from the Caribbean, I would like to make a call to be more inclusive to ensure that the Caribbean is also represented at such a forum, since it's an integral part of this part of the hemisphere. That's the first thing. Secondly, we hear about what is going on, especially with climate change and with indigenous people in other parts of the Latin America. But I would like you to see what's going on in Guyana, especially with regards to climate actions, as well as the beneficial aspect of indigenous people. Despite the country right now is one of the fastest growing economy with oil and gas, still efforts are being made, especially with regards to its forests, to benefit the indigenous community. But what I like to see as an outcome to this, there was a lot of things to learn, especially with regards to the environment, especially with regards, I'm part of the human trafficking in the Caribbean, as well as in Guyana, and as well as the interreligious organizations. So there's many lessons to take back here, to take back to my country and to the Caribbean, to share, and so on. But more importantly, what I like to see moving up also, or coming out of future programs like these, is the ability of the religious community to make its presence felt in societies and in their countries against the political pressure, the political will over them. Because some religious people, they see themselves as politicians rather than religious leaders. And I think we need to explore how is it could be more effective in terms of engaging government, not from a political perspective, from a religious perspective, so that at the end of the day, they can be able to ensure that achievements are done on a religious ground. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. João atrás, ali, bem atrás.
Good afternoon. My name is Maurice Bloem. I work for the Joint Learning Initiative on faith and local communities. De mensen die vanmiddag bij mij in de sessie zaten, die weten al dat ik soms Nederlands praat om een bepaald punt te maken. So, you know, if I would have done the whole thing in Dutch, only a few people would have understood what I said. So I think what we have learned here is we have provided with, you know, an expanding vocabulary. So that's great. So we take that home. That's very important. Different perspectives that will help us during our daily lives in our work. However, I think this is the, you know, the interfaith forum for the G20. And I want us to make sure that we talk the language that is understood, that will be discussed. And I heard two things that I would like to raise. The first one is of day one, when David Beckman spoke about the Global Alliance on Hunger, against hunger and poverty. You know, with the message of, can we ensure that, you know, a lot of more members will sign up for the Global Alliance? So not only Brazil has given a great example that more countries would sign up, and that is really crucial nowadays. It's something that we can agree on and should be supported by faith-based organizations, etc. The other thing is the fact that USAID came up with a policy on strategic religious engagement. And I also think that is something that could be put forward to the G20 to ensure that more countries will be looking into that. Because that will really ensure that our communities will be taken more seriously. Strategic, so my suggestion is come up with, you know, strategic suggestions using the language that will be understood so that the G20 will take this really seriously. Thank you.
Brilliant. Any other comments? Yes, we do have one in the back here and two more there. But yeah, so after you, then on this side, and then back there, or any lady, if they, yeah, then, sorry, so that lady, then back there, and maybe we wrap up with the other two gentlemen there.
Buenas tardes, permítame hablar en español. Mi nombre es Denis Rojas, soy del Perú, y a compartir esta experiencia del Foro Interreligioso, realmente me impacta muchísimo las experiencias compartidas, y que dos cosas que rescato de esta experiencia es que no podemos hacer las cosas solos, que necesitamos de los demás. Hay un dicho que dice, si quieres ir rápido, ve solo, pero si quieres ir lejos, ve acompañado. Y creo que es muy importante estos espacios donde podemos conocer diversas experiencias y diversos actores también que desarrollan un trabajo interesante y muy productivo a nivel global. Lo otro que me llevo de experiencia es que la religión no puede ser una religión desencarnada ni vacía. Necesita hacerse carne, necesita involucrarse con el prójimo, con la necesidad del otro. Y estas experiencias las llevo y espero poder compartir ahí en el espacio que me corresponde. Como han dicho también, la responsabilidad empieza por casa, empieza por cada uno. Gracias.
Gracias. There's a lady here, second row.
I wanted to express some of the reflections that I have heard throughout the days here. And one of them is about transcending electoral cycles and political terms, and how we can create an ability in the states as stewards of the common good and having long-term nature and carrying forward their responsibilities that they have already committed with. The other point of my reflections are that the states, they bear a crucial responsibility for governing the commons, whether within its own borders, but also in collaboration with other institutions, and how these collaborations can be in place. It would be very interesting to be explored. And the last point is in terms of national policies and local policies, and out of the recommendations that have been received from IF20 and from other forums, what are the necessary tools to ensure that the recommendations will be actually put into implementation? They're not just going to be into the policies, but all these different treaties, frameworks that have been discussed throughout the years. How can we have a mechanism of evaluation and implementation loop to ensure that the provisions are indeed implemented? Thank you.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Like UPR mechanism that you have a follow-up in the middle, following up the recommendation, that would be excellent. So, sorry, we have other people here, then I go back to you.
My name is Augusto. I'm from the Brahma Kumaris in Brazil, and I would like to bring some reflection regarding something very personal and very individual, because we are discussing very much about the impact that the governments and that the civil society can do. But it's very much important that we have coherence between our speech and our action, because it doesn't work to claim for a good environment if I don't look after well my own body, which is my very first environment. It doesn't work to claim for ending the hunger if I waste food. So our very first actions in our daily lives are very important, and it's a very important reflection that we need to bring. How am I really contributing through my daily very actions for the benefit and for a transformation, a positive transformation in our world? Thank you.